this. So we are recording now. Anybody who's worked with me directly knows that like all I'm going to tell you, and it's super not fancy, it's not a whole bunch of complicated information, it's just what are our basic kind of rules for what we're trying to accomplish. So the gentleman who was on last night who said, okay, I want to do what you're doing, what I'm doing is I create rules that work. And then I use these rules consistently for 30 days before I'm allowed to change anything at all. I don't allow myself any edits until, so once this is finalized, I keep it this way I can know my numbers. So like if I took X amount of trades with this trading plan, I want to know how effective it is in 30 days, not in a few trades, but in the entire 30-day period, because that's kind of going to be, for the most part, news resistant. It'll be Brexit resistant and just stuff like, what is it? Oh, NFP week. The things that kind of really throw it off. Like, so if I only use this for a week and it happened to be the week of NFP, probably wouldn't be a good amount of like results for me to use for a good basis. Hey, Justin. Hey, Gregory. Guys, I don't really look at the chat too much, so you guys can feel welcome to step up and say hello or talk about what you ate for dinner, especially if it's seafood. Anyways, so yeah, there's Rhonda. What we have is our basic rules. So what are some basic Forex rules that you guys can think of?
Avoid red news.
Yep. Okay. What else?
Break of the 50.
That would go under entry, right? We can use that for entries, but what are some basic like things we would want to recognize in terms of Forex trading? Anybody got any ideas? Because I want to do this together.
Price action.
Don't over leverage your account.
Yeah. Don't trade multiple pairs at the same time.
There you go. That was the one I was looking for. Keep margin percentage, right? Whatever. Okay. Above, depending on what your leverage is. I mean, you can keep it above 500% if your leverage is small, or like if you have really high leverage, I'd say keep it above 1,000. Okay? This will make sure you do not get a leverage call ever. And who said don't trade too many of the same currency pairs?
I did.
If you have like a ton of background noise, can you please mute yourself? Like I would love you to talk, but you have to be able to hear. That person, whoever that was. Okay, so whoever said don't trade, so if you're in more than one, like if you're in Euro USD, we probably shouldn't be in Euro GBP and Euro JPY and whatever other Euro entity. We shouldn't be in that many of the same currency pairs. So don't over leverage. Sorry guys. On my little cross bracelet, my watch. Over leverage per currency. So no more than 2 pairs with the same currency at one time. Okay, anything else you guys can think of in terms of just basic Forex, like not including entry or management, like what are some basic things that we know we can do to make sure our trading plan is solid and it's sound? And again, this isn't going to mean you have no losses, but it's going to help you have very few. Is there anything else you guys can think of?
Don't revenge trade.
Okay, so should we say don't revenge trade, or should we say like stick to your rules, stick to your plan, or?
Stick to your plan would be good.
Don't. What is that? Wow, okay. It's going everywhere but on my Google Docs.
Or you can also say trade without fear.
How about keep emotions out?
Yeah.
It's not working. It's skipping all my letters. Okay.
Wait for the market to come to you.
Don't chase a trade.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we're creating this together, so this is going to be your guys' rules. So you guys get to, I have no idea, like, I think it's because I'm typing online and I'm not used to that. Like, I usually type on my actual platform. Okay, let's see, anything else you guys can think of? Like, so not including your entry, your management. So we're going to avoid red folder news. How many hours? Like, if we're swing trading, we can't always avoid it, but we're not going to place a new trade if we have, like, red folder news in, like, the next 48 hours. If you're swing trading, we'll say for swing trading, because you can still be in it when that happens as long as you protect it, but, and for the scalp, 2 hours. Okay. Anything else you guys can think of in terms of how do we create these rules to where, like, you guys can see them and understand them, and these are your basic things, and if you follow these, I promise you guys are going to have, like, even for a newbie, maybe 70% accuracy ratio. Within a few weeks, you'll definitely be at 80 to 90, because the system is fire. Like, it's awesome once you kind of follow.
What about do not place entries during the swap?
Okay, so timing.
Because the margins are so high. I mean, the spreads are so high during the swap.
Well, that doesn't really work so much with swing trading, though. So, like, you would want to enter your trade. So for your flip-flop or for your scalp, yes, your time of day is important. But for your swing trade, not so much, because you really can't avoid the swap. You're going to be paying that swap regardless, because you're going to hold this trade for potentially a week. I've had some trades held for a month now, and as you get better at it, you'll see why. But
I wasn't making reference to the swap itself. I was making reference to the size of the spread during the swap. About entries. I've entered a trade during that time and wasn't paying attention, and that was immediately, automatically over $100 in the hole, because it was during the, it was like about 4:15 or something like that. So it was during the swap.
Yeah, that's called session changeover.
Yes, session changeover of the swap.
oh, so you got hit with the high spread and the swap.
Yeah.
Know the hours of trading.
What about don't trade on Sundays?
Oh, okay.
Don't buck the trend.
Okay, so let's stick with don't trade Sunday. Possibly Monday if you don't know what you're doing and you're not skilled yet. But when we say this, this is Monday.
With experience.
How do I say that? This is Monday, their clock, not our clock. So you got to think our clock, Sunday is Monday. Does that make sense? That's depending on time zone.
Right. 4:30 Sunday afternoon.
Is Monday for them.
Monday.
So when I say avoid Sunday, what I'm really saying is avoid, how many can find a good way to say that? So avoid the markets Monday. So that's what we're avoiding.
Right.
So avoid Asian Monday, basically. Hopefully people can understand that. Okay, so are those some pretty basic FX rules that we can kind of just, we don't trade swing trades before red folder news, we'll wait till after that, or we'll get out or make sure we're in profit, like we'll move our stop loss up, obviously that will go under management. For scalping, we don't want to enter a new scalp when there's red folder news coming up in the next 2 hours. Keep margin percentage above 500 to 1,000. I promise you, for any of you who are like me, who's blown a lot of accounts, and I have blown a lot of accounts, this rule right here will be what saves your account for the next few months. Like, it will be the difference maker. Don't over leverage per currency. So again, the biggest time I blew the biggest account at that time. So I was in too many NZD pairs one day. They were all said that they were supposed to drop. I didn't even recognize it, like mentally or emotionally, that technically I was in 5 NZD pairs stacked many, many times. Needless to say, they went against me, and it didn't even go against me by like hundreds of pips, because as you know, NZD doesn't move that much. It just went against me like by 50, 60 pips. But when you have that many entries on that many pairs with all the same currency, like that account was gone like an hour, it was just dead. So don't chase trades. Don't trade at the market open or session changeover, so you're waiting for that, right? So we could say that whole hour after session open if we wanted to. Don't trade Sunday, which possibly Monday depending on time zone, so avoid Asian Mondays, which whoever can understand that, good luck. But that's what we're saying, because our Sunday is technically their Monday. It's technically the Forex market Monday. So
Hey, Jenny, before you get too far ahead, I want to ask a question over something you just went over.
okay.
How do you figure up, okay, I'm in Central Time, and a lot of time when the red folder come out and they give a time, but how do I know whether or not it's Central or Eastern, or how do I know that?
Well, the blessing is that most of those apps can be set to your time zone, so you probably should do that first and foremost. Is set an app to your time zone to where, like, whether it's my FX book is set to my time zone, so when I see red folder news, they give it to me in my time. Of course, there's indicators for your charts that tell you how many hours from now, so you can do the math. Investing.com will tell you, you can type in your time zone. I know they do it too. Forex Factory puts it in your time zone. So, and then secondly, get a world clock. So if you're not a lovely Apple user, get a world clock on your phone, and then type in the different sessions. So that's what I did. Well, plus I'm like, at this point, I'm working with clients all around the world. I don't know, like, I would be foolish and I would be fibbing to say that I know what time it is anywhere but a few time zones, because I don't. So just start typing in those time zones into your world clock, and then you'll also have a better idea of, like, take Asian, for example, 8 a.m. their time. We know that news usually kicks off in the morning, so that's why Pat trades that whole hour after New York Open kind of thing. So the morning of London, the morning of Asia, and the morning of New York.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. Sure does. Thank you.
You are welcome. Okay, guys, anything else you can think of that maybe might help you personally? Because, like, we all have our own ups and downs. We all have our skills and our weaknesses. So when we make this, we're going to make this as a group. You guys can have it. And then, of course, you can edit it. Like, so if you have a tendency of, you know, double entering late, or if you have a tendency of, like that one gentleman said, he just entered at the wrong time. If there's rules that are specific to you, I highly recommend you add them for you. This is just kind of the basic across the board stuff that we want as a foundation, because this will make or break you, period.
Again, I don't trade against the trend.
Okay. So I'm going to make that capital. Gotcha. That's a good one. That's the best one. But how do we decide trend? Because we know that there's, 8 billion people on this planet, and I promise you, of the 1 billion people who might know about Forex, or however many, they all decide the trend differently. So if you're asking me, my idea of the trend is, if it's above the 50 on the 1 hour chart, I consider that a buyer's market. If it's below the 50 on the 1 hour chart, I consider that a seller's market. That's my rule for me. It works for me. I needed some clear-cut answer that worked for me, and honestly, the more I tried to find one, the more I could not find one, because everyone does it differently. They say, well, it has to be this many candles, or this many hours, or this many time frames. So they have all these stinking rules that, like, my brain just couldn't follow. So for me to decide the trend, you guys can opt to look at the chart and then just see what direction it's going. But I made a rule for myself that says, hey, on the 1 hour chart, if it's above the 50, I consider it a buy. If it's below the 50, I consider it a sell. So that's how I decide the trend. Because that was like the one answer I could not get in all my YouTubes and all my years in IML and all the trainers and groups I was in. Like, no one could give me that exact answer with any amount of, like, consistency. So that's how I decided. If you guys want to follow that, great. If not, definitely look into some ways to decide the trend. So these are the rules we have. So who's that?
Yeah, it's Sylvan.
Hey, Sylvan, how are you?
Good, thank you. Regards to this 50, do you decide on the trend after it bounces off the 50, or because sometimes it does break the 50 and then it just resumes its previous trend? So does it have to bounce off the 50 for you to decide that it's actually changed trends, or?
Again, I have to stay consistent for my own personal sanity, if you will. So that's a really great question. But for me, when we look at the chart, it's in hindsight, right? So everything's clearer in hindsight, obviously. But for me to say it's above the trend, I just say it's above the 50. A lot of times you'll have that consolidation period where it's kind of hanging out at the 50. It's kind of going above and below. So if I took a look at the chart and I saw it was kind of hanging out at the 50, I'd say that, it's in a neutral trend. Like if I had to like write that down on a paper in my spreadsheet or something, I'd say neutral trend, okay? But once it breaks above or breaks below, I consider that to be a buy or sell because I have to stay consistent. And there's so many variables with that question, which is a great question. But for my purposes, it doesn't always bounce. It doesn't always come to retest it, right? So that's not it's not a valid enough reason to not be sure, at least for me.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Okay, somebody said keep a trade journal, and I think that's probably one of the better ones we have. You guys will never know. I've seen some guys, they sent me, like, what is that, Evernote? Like, so they have handwritten notes or typed notes more accurately and screenshots. There was a lady, a beautiful lady on the call a few nights ago who had screenshots of her entry. That will it will change your world if you decide to be that diligent and keep a trade journal. Because what that will do is when you win or lose, okay, and you're not sure and you're frustrated and you're willing to back test yourself and analyze yourself, which it's hard for us to analyze ourselves. It's easy to say the system didn't work or the indicators or man, I tried, it still went against me. It's really hard to look in the mirror and say, wait a minute, you messed up. So keeping a trade journal will hold you severely accountable, especially if you do it very diligently with something like Evernote, where you have screenshots of what you looked at, because sometimes you'll notice that you thought the MACD was ready or you thought that, you had a candle confirmation, but now looking back, you'll be able to know, hey, this was really missing this, and this, or this I thought was ready, but I was not diligent in my efforts. So,
Hey, Jenny.
Hey, who's this?
Hi. You hear
Hi.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Oh, Dorian.
Okay.
I was waiting for your name. I'm like, hi. How are you?
When I used to trade or paper trade on Thinkorswim,
Okay.
I would trade, I believe it was 4 days out of the week, but then I reduced it to 3. And I reserved Mondays to sort of experiment and see what works and what doesn't. And it's sort of like people who are learning to be mechanics, how they'll run an engine until that engine fails. And they try to diagnose the problem, see what the issue was. So my suggestion is for those who want to get more experience and find out what works and what doesn't, is to reserve 1 day to do that.
1 day to back test and to kind of go over a trade journal and to go over your information. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's great. So if you keep a trade schedule, right, you have the option of reserving Mondays. Actually, that's something I do. So on Friday, I go back over. So Friday afternoon, well, I usually kind of have some girl time. Friday afternoon, I'm either volunteering somewhere or I go get a massage or go do something, I'll take my mom to get her nails done kind of thing. But what I do on Friday afternoons or Friday evening, depending on what my schedule is for that week, is I'll go over all my trades and I'll say, okay, I'll count the pips that I got. I'll count my accuracy ratio. I'll look over any pair that hit a stop loss and kind of just look at what the market did. So I do that on Fridays. And then on Mondays, of course, as you guys know, I just look at the market and I make a list of my watch list every week. And it doesn't mean I enter them all. So they still have to finish lining up in most cases. Sometimes already that my Monday night, which is technically Tuesday morning, Asian time. But that's a great idea. That's a great one. Now keep a trade schedule. We don't need to be trading all the time. So even if you want to be a scalper, great. But keep a trade schedule, and that will make you walk away from your charts. Because when you stare at something for 24 hours a day, your eyes get a little bit numb to it. So go look at a beautiful ocean if you're blessed enough to be by one. Take a walk. Take your darling on a date or something, and just get away from the charts for some amount of time, because this can become massively addicting. So, very much so. Okay, any other basic FX rules that you guys can think of?
Hey, Jenny.
Yeah, Gary, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm from the Caribbean and recently joined.
Oh, welcome to the team. Welcome to the family.
I lose a lot of money trying too many different strategies.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes,
So now I concentrate on the Stairmaster, and it works.
it does work. Like, I love that thing. I love it. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Did you have any questions or suggestions or?
No, I guess
All right, awesome. Hey, that whole when we practice, when we keep trying to learn too many different strategies, somebody told me a long time ago, I forgot where I heard it from, but they were talking about the problem with switching around with strategies is you basically, you become an expert, you know, you've learned 10,000 things for 1 minute, right? But now you're an expert in no things. But if you stick with one thing for 10,000 hours or minutes or whatever, now you're an expert in one thing. Now you actually have like a skill. I think Bruce Lee has a quote that's like, don't fear the man who practiced 10,000 kicks one time. Fear the man who practiced one kick 10,000 times. So if you practice this that many times and stick to this strategy, at least until it's working for you before you bother to try to learn anything else, you'll be unusually successful. So stick around, okay? Okay, any other rules or things you guys can think of in terms of just basic Forex rules? Because we're going to move on to management.
If you don't mind, if it ain't personal, how long did it take you to kind of catch on, and how long did it take you to get rich?
To get rich. Okay, Mike, I got you. So I failed miserably for the first 6 months. And when I say miserably, I mean I kept adding real money to real accounts. I never started with the demo. I just added real money to real accounts and just kept blowing them over and over again. Like it became like a habit. I was filling that count up every week. So, but then like I got a lot more consistent. I got my rules down. And of course I went through that period of time where I'd make money, but then I would lose it. So I came up with the rule for myself that said, hey, whatever was over $1,000 in that account, at the end of the week, I'm going to take it out. Because of course my objective was to grow the 6-figure, 7-figure accounts, right? But the truth was every time I kept trying, like I'd get to like that 10, 20, 30,000 and I would make a stupid mistake, not even like a wise mistake or, hey, this was 1,000% out of my control kind of mistake. I'm talking the dumb mistakes. Like I was in a Bitcoin trade. I went to, my brother kept calling my phone and he was in line for me and for my children for Santa at the mall. And this was like 2-3 years ago. And I had my MacBook on my kitchen table and I was getting ready to put like trailing stops on it or move my stop loss up. But I was up like $19,000 or some crazy amount. And I didn't put my stop loss in profit. I didn't put a trailing stop on there. I just left. I came back and the account that was up by 19,000 had 30 some odd thousand in it, now had 400 and some odd bucks in it. I think it was 484. So again, most of the big mistakes I made were stupid mistakes, stuff like this. They weren't like, hey, there was an economic disaster, or hey, this trade was wrong, it went against me, it was just a losing trade. Most of the big mistakes I made was stuff like that. And then of course I told you guys the NZD night. I was in too many NZD trades.
So you broke that MacBook that night, right?
I didn't. Like, no, I went to bed like a little princess and I said, if I can lose 50,000, because that's the equivalent of over $50,000, right? So my mindset was, if I can lose $50,000 in a day, that means I know I can make $50,000 in a day. And I went to bed and I said, okay, I got it. That's what I did. So, and that was a few years ago, granted. So again, at that time, I went from blowing accounts. My next step was I made money, but I kept losing it. So my rule after that was, okay, anything I had in my account that was over $1,000 at the end of that 1 week or 2 week period, I'm going to take that money out and then just regrow it. Or I would keep just $500 in there and I would regrow it, which, as you know, is a slower growth. But it gives you consistency. It gives you faith, like in the market. It gives you faith in yourself. And then once I got to that point, I was able to start like taking just small accounts and growing them to bigger amounts of money consistently, because again, I know what rules messed me up. I know what I did wrong, because we're all going to have a losing trade, but that's not going to blow a $50,000 account. We're all going to have a losing, you can even have a bad week in theory, and still not mess up your $1 million trade plan. You can still be successful with your $1 million trade plan, even if you had 2 or 3 bad weeks. Like, that won't kill you at all. But it's those little things that are going to make or break you at the end of the day. So.
Hey, one more suggestion, Jenny.
Uh-huh.
Okay, as far as sitting down and doing your analysis, I think it would help if we write down the number of confirmations that we're looking for based on the number of indicators and oscillators that are on our chart, and to trade those confirmations. And but before you place your trade, write it down first.
And that's part of the trade journal. So that would be like, you would have images, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
List of reasons or confirmations that you had, right? To enter. And in your trade journal, you'd also have how you managed it, okay? I didn't think that was super important until I realized that my management was what was breaking me. So again, you go through stages. So I didn't find it super important until I realized that, hey, I have these really tiny trailing stops, or some of them, like, I'd have no take profit. And that's how I learned how important that whole management thing is. Because you'll have this trade that went in your favor by 100 pips, but you had no take profit and you never moved your stop loss up. So now you're down 50 pips, and that just really stings. So, and the same thing with like a trade schedule. You should plan time, okay, for not trading, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you're just kind of studying, right? Rather, wow.
Another rule you can put is hit stop profit.
That's going to go under management. That's my first one. You betcha.
And as far as which journal that we should use, because I have 4 Excel files that I downloaded from the Telegram. And I'm wondering, which one do I use? There's one called the SuperEZ $1 Million Trader, the Daily Growth Plan.
That's a compensation journal. That's a compensation plan, not a journal.
Okay.
So there's not a journal, not as far as I know. I might be mistaken, but not as far as I know. There's no journal in our group.
Okay.
There's some really, really, really advanced ones in other groups. Well, actually, wait a minute. I am wrong, because I believe that Jen and a few other people were in the process of making a trade journal. So I think I am wrong, actually.
Is that the Forex trade journal?
No, that's mine. That's just a list of rules and how I stacked trades. But essentially, all a trade journal is what you saw, what time you saw it, okay? You can maybe have images. You can have a list of reasons. It's basically your analysis on that trade. So, like, how many confirmations did you have? Why did you take this trade, essentially? So, like, I can show you guys one of the generic versions that I kind of came up with. It's not pretty. It's not color coordinated or anything. It was just for my personal preference. But I'm trying to move everything digitally. But honestly, like, my best trade journals are all handwritten. They're all just in my little notebook with it, has some inspirational slogan on the front of it. And that works for me, but you'll have to find what works for you. But you do want something that says why you entered it, what time you entered, was there news coming out? Because that holds you accountable to you. The problem is like, we take this trade and we don't even know why we took it. And then some of us get super emotional. We're all human, so no judgment here. The reality is, if we didn't have to write down, did we check for news? There's a really good chance we didn't check for news. Or we forgot, because we're human. Or like the lady, I'll use her as an example again, not calling her out, but like she had the screenshot, so that means she's being super diligent. But she was sure to tell something that turns out she didn't see, right? And that will teach her everything. So that trade journal can make or break it for sure.
Okay, thank you.
You are welcome. Okay, guys, we're going to go to management. So I think we have enough. Again, if there's some of these that don't apply to you, take them off. If there's something else you want to add because of your personality or your own set of circumstances, add it to it. So what's the very first rule, again, if you're asking me in terms of your management?
Move stop into profit.
This is me. Every time.
Back to your money.
Yeah, always. Again, I don't mind missing the move. I do mind giving my money away when I was right to begin with. That stinks. So anytime you're in profit, Move your stop loss a few pips in the profit. You'll have to decide.
This trade's not being shared, Jenny.
I'm sorry?
It's not being shared.
New share, hold on. I have a blue box.
You're sharing your documents, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. I thought you was trying to show your
Nope, I'm just doing this. I'm keeping it super simple because I think this will answer like a ton of questions that a lot of people are kind of getting lost at. So that's kind of my goal. So like James, like you were saying today that for your scalping, you're moving you're cashing out some of it at 7 pips and you're letting the rest of it run, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so but once you're in profit, you are moving your stop loss into profit?
Yes, ma'am.
By how many pips?
On the first trade, it automatically closes after the 7th pip. When the runner, I'll move my stop loss up once it gets to about maybe 15 because of the spread. And then I'll move it automatically up to
okay, perfect. Hey, Gregory, I can hear you like fussing around. Greg, I can hear you. Your name is coming up on my screen.
He just muted himself.
Okay, cool.
He just unmuted himself.
Okay.
Very good.
I'm gonna mute him. Let's see. I know how to do this. Just bear with me. Greg, can you hear me? Hey, Guy. Okay, I'm gonna mute all. There you go. And now if you want to talk, you can unmute yourself, but just make sure you don't have any background noise. There we go.
Yeah,
okay,
so that's basically all I do.
That's perfect. So whether or not you're the reason why I called you out like that, Jamie, is because you're scalping, obviously you're going for less pips, you would move it up a little bit sooner. If you're swing trading, once you're 10, 20, 30 pips in profit, just move, protect the bag. I mean, that is the biggest rule it will increase your accuracy by no less than 20, 30%. And again, with that degree of a change, it's enough to literally make your account 6 figures in a few weeks, even as a newbie. That is literally possible for any one of you guys on this call tonight, seriously. Okay, so what are some other management rules that you can think of? We're talking trailing stops, stop losses, take profits, how many pips you're going for. Gregory, dude, guy, hey you there. Why does he keep unmuting himself? Gregory.
God, this dude is starting to hurt me.
Huh. I'm gonna meet him again. There goes it. Maybe. I don't want to be mean, but he's not responding. Hey, guy. That's so weird.
Yeah, I think maybe he got his phone in his pocket. Maybe.
No, he does this every week, man.
I don't know. He's intentionally unmuting, so.
Yeah, he is. You don't need to even make no excuses.
Okay.
You might have to block him.
I still don't want to be mean. I'm never mean to people, you guys, ever.
Hey, I'll be mean. Give me the
Gregory, honey, can you hear me? Okay, I'm gonna remove him. Guys, I'm not mean.
I am.
That's not being mean. That's using wisdom.
Okay.
Uncle Pat had to do that this morning to a guy, so we're okay with it.
Okay, well, I'm learning here. If you can hear me, so if he pops up again making a bunch of noise, we will. There he is. Gregory, can you hear me? Hey, I'm not being mean to you, so if you jump back on, he can't rejoin. Wow, I feel really bad.
That's okay. It'll be fine.
Well, that's okay. That's okay, Jenny. God knows your heart.
Okay.
He's not listening anyway.
Okay, cool. Okay, guys, so I want you guys to be actively part of this. So I want the lines open. I want your guys' opinions on what is management. So what are some ways we can manage our trades? Because again, without management, like, we got nothing. Hey, Will, I hear you.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's okay. If you want, you have an idea, come up, and if not,
That you off.
yes, please mute yourself.
Cut your
I hear
losses.
beautiful children in the background. Okay, so what are your guys' ideas in terms of management?
Cut your losses.
How do you cut your losses?
Just close it out.
Okay, but why are you going to close it out? How are you ever going to learn your analysis if you just cut your losses?
I know, but if you've
It's a lot size.
if you made a mistake in your analysis, because that's happened to me several times, and instead of holding on to that trade, I would rather just close that out because it could lead to a bigger loss.
Okay, so can we make a rule on that? Because if it's going to be me you're asking, I'm going to say cut losses at break of support.
I like that.
Or resistance. Because listen, guys, we can't just go cutting losses because we get all in our feels. That's what that whole over trading thing comes in, and like you know, it just becomes a mess. You're so like over analyzing things, like you can't see straight anymore. So you cut your losses and then you cut your winners and you feel like you can't win. Like it's just mentally bad for you. So if I'm gonna write down cut losses, I'm gonna say at break of support and resistance. So once it breaks that previous support and resistance, so if you're buying and it breaks below that previous floor, or if you're selling and it breaks above that previous ceiling, let's cut that loss and move on. Okay, so what are some other really good ideas here?
Don't take trade your account can afford. Or don't take trade your account can't afford, if that makes sense.
So don't over leverage. We have that already on the management, right? Well, we don't have don't over leverage. Well, this one is leverage. Believe it or not, it just doesn't look like it. This is just the really wise way to know your leverage. So in terms of management, we're talking trailing stops, stop losses, take profits, determining how many pips we're going for or when we're going to get in or get out of a trade.
Hey, Jenny.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, I like the idea of going for 50% of the ADR for the first take profit, and then maybe the second take profit, the full ADR, and then that third one just let it run.
Okay. I like that too. Well, as you guys know, I was stacking 4 times, but a lot of people don't. It's a lot to manage, like even for me. And I have a fancy trade manager. And it's still a lot to manage, so. Okay, so cut losses at break even. So if you're swing trading, right? So we'll say for swing, or how would we do that?
Manage entries.
What was that? Did you say, Will? Okay. Your second TP can be a runner or right? So where does stop loss go? Where are we at stop loss? Huh?
The dots. Or that's dropping my stop loss though.
Me too. A few pips above or below the super easy S and right?
Right.
Yes.
And you guys can stack more than that, but this is just basic management. So when and how we will get in or out or get out of the trade. So this is what we would call management in terms of our trading plan. What else can we think of? There was a gentleman who spoke up, but I didn't catch what he said.
It wasn't me, Jenny, but how you doing?
Hey, Mike, how are you?
Okay, we can't forget that one of the 5 general rules, which is, of course, do not trade multiple currency pairs that has the same currency involved.
There we go, right here, Mike. I
Oh,
got
it's
you.
okay. Okay, I got in late. I'm sorry.
No problem. Okay, so that's one of the basic ones. This is basic Forex. So we have a lot of new people in here who like don't even know how to open or close a trade. So some of this is so simple, I might miss it, which is another blessing that you guys are on here to kind of give me your insight, because some of it is so, at this point, second nature that I wouldn't even remember to teach on it. So if you guys can think of anything, don't think it's too dumb or too whatever, because there might be somebody who's never even heard of trading who might need to hear that. Although we want to keep it simple, we want to keep it to where a new person can understand it, but it will also benefit a new person and a veteran. So what we have so far is move, stop into profit, cut losses at break of support or resistance, which again, that's where your stop loss should have been anyways. But we don't want to go closing trades just out of our little feels and our emotions, especially because I'm a girl and I'm like a super empathetic girl. So I get all my feels a lot. We will have no evidence of what our trade plan does or doesn't do if we just cut losses because we felt like it. So we only want to do that at the break of support or resistance. First TP at 50% of this week's ADR. Second TP can be a runner or get out. About never stack more than 4 trades.
Okay.
Okay. Any other rules in terms of management that you guys can think of? This is entry, exit. What about the use of a trailing stop after so many pips?
Yes.
Okay. We'll say optional.
How do you determine where to put your trailing stop at?
It's not a where, it's a how much.
How much? Okay.
So use a trailing stop once the trade is in favor. And that's kind of the tricky part. So if you're going on a fast runner, so again, a GBP pair, those are faster movers, you can't have a 5 pip or 10 pip trailing stop. It'll knock you out instantly. But if you're on a slower mover that's like 40 pips a day, you can have a 15, 20 pip trailing stop pretty easily. So we know that the trailing stops are set in points, not pips. So you always have to add a 0 or a digit to the end. But that's 100% up to you. Like for instance, if your rule, this is going to be our generic rules, and then you can add to these rules. So for you, you can say, hey, once I'm in profit by 50 pips, I'm going to add a trailing stop of, let's say, 40 pips, which means no matter what happens, this trade can go my favor by another 200 pips, but it retraces by 40, I'm getting out with money, or however you want to do it. I usually do my trailing stop slightly less than whatever my take profit would be, just in case it kind of comes up real close and then doesn't touch it. But that's personal choice, and it's so, it's so, it's not a universal concept because every pair moves a different amount. So there's no number that I can give you. I can say that on a GBP pair it needs to be bigger, and on a non-GBP pair it needs to be smaller. That's all I can tell you though. Pat uses like a 40, which essentially means you're giving up or you're being willing to give back 40 pips to catch the bigger move. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes. I'm new to your group, by the way. This is my first time.
Hey, Stefan, how's it going?
Excellent. I'm here to learn.
Are you new to trading?
I've been trading demos for a while, and I traded a live account for a while and decided to go back to demos. So I'm trying to move it to 100% live, but I need to learn some more.
Well, like you may or may not have heard me say at the beginning of this call, even I play in demo now because I got wiser, and if I have that little trigger finger, I'll go play in demo. There's nothing wrong with that. But for your live account, you should be sticking to live rules and the live trading plan. And this is a good call to be on. I don't know if you missed the first part, but this will make or break you.
I got all the rules.
Okay.
I'm screenshotting it as well.
Oh, you're going to have this. This isn't for me. So this is for you guys. That's awesome. Welcome to the family.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
I need to have some rules. I haven't had the rules yet.
Well, that's why we're making these together. So these aren't just for me. These aren't just my rules. I want this to be something that you guys were actively a part of. So is there anything else you guys can think of in terms of management?
Jenny.
Hey, Austin, how's it going?
Pretty good. How about you?
Wonderful.
I had a question about when you move your trade into profit, how many pips up do you have to be to typically do that?
Okay, so I just answered that. And the problem with that is I can't answer that. So, for instance, there's a gentleman on the call right now. He's working on that flip-flop strategy, so he's scalping. So, like for him, I would tell him to use like a 5-pip trailing stop once he's 10 pips in profit or 7 or 8 pips in profit, and then go look for the next scalp. Like if it was a scalping thing, that's what I would tell you if I was working with you one-on-one. If you're swing trading, this becomes a whole nother set of rules, and the reason why is because every pair moves differently. So you can create a rule for yourself that says, hey, once I'm 50 pips in profit, I'm going to add a 20-pip trailing stop and then just let it go. Or hey, once I'm 30 pips in profit, I'm going to add a 15-pip trailing stop and just see how far it can run. And then it's a totally stress-free trade. You have the potential of getting a big move, but you get it safely. You have to decide that. You can use the ADR as a guide. But you have to decide based off of your pip goal per trade or per day, based off of what time frame you entered on. Because if you enter this trade on the daily chart, you want to give it a lot of room. If you enter the trade on the hourly chart, you only need like 40, 50 pips of room. So,
how do you calculate the ADR?
There's an app. Oh, it's not an app. I apologize. Well, there is an app, but there's an indicator in the group. It's called Bars Alert. It's in the notification group as well as the other group. And once you put it on there, let's see if I can add you. Now Greg is trying to get back on. See? Let's see. I'm going to see if he can't join again. I don't know if that's going to let him.
Hey, Will, can you mute your mic, man?
Can I do what?
You will mute your mic, please.
1 second.
Okay. So let's see if I can invite somebody again. He can't get back on, you guys. How do I let him back on?
Yeah.
That's not funny. I feel so bad. Why are you guys laughing?
Yeah, it is. That's what happens when you break the rule.
Well, he can hang up and call and
What's about you yourself? What's about that? It ain't hard. It's easy.
Yeah, okay. I know. Okay. I'm not so great at that, guys. I just listened to this audio about learning to say no. Yeah, I probably still need to work on that.
He can get you recorded later.
Okay, let's see.
There's an audio book out there called Go for No. I think you should listen to it.
I got to work on that. Like, even my mother was telling me that. So, but it's okay. So I'm still a work in progress every day of the week, like everybody else. So, okay, back to management. Is there anything else we can? Oh, the ADR is how much it moves per day on average. It's not like an exact science, but it's enough to give you a good roundabout amount. I found it to be very useful. I started using the ADR a few years ago. I used to have to get it from a website until Andre gave me this indicator, and I stinking love it. So it's fantastic.
Hey, Jenny.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, could you probably already covered this before, but could you tell me why the ADR is better than the ATR?
I mean, the ADR and the ATR have the same fingers anyway.
Let's see. So the average trading range and the average daily range. So like the ATR, you're talking about the line on the side of the screen, right?
Yes.
So that line, first off, that line moves. That's like the average trading range for the previous day. So that line will move at market open, so Asian open every single day. It's not better or worse. They're just used very differently. So that doesn't really come into play with this. like usually when price breaks support or resistance, it'll go to the average, daily low or average daily high of that average trading range. But for me and my purposes, like if you go to investing.com, that's where I used to get the information from. You can type in a certain amount of weeks and what pair. It'll tell you how much that price moves per week or per day. I just find it to be reliable and accurate and useful information. So I don't know if that's an answer to your question. Like if you're talking about that line on the side of your screen, I have that too, and I use that massively differently.
I use the ATR to set profit and take loss. It's very good too.
Yes. For the purpose of knowing your take profit or like a stop loss, usually when price breaks or above or below a certain point, you know that for the most part, this is going to the average, daily high or the average daily low with a pretty good accuracy, I'd say. Anybody who's used that can attest to that. But that's a totally separate information.
So before you take any trade, you look at what the ATR is, you multiply by 1.5, and 1.5 times whatever the ATR is, that's your take profit, and 1.5 times whatever the ATR is, that's your stop loss. It's simple to use, but people don't understand right.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. It's just I never heard of the ADR until I joined this group, so that's why I was just wondering. I used to always hear about the ATR, so I was just curious.
Well, in terms of like the average trading range, it's similar. It's a similar concept. I don't know if it's equated the same because I don't know what I don't know, but
Can I chime in?
Yeah. Go ahead. Who is that?
This is James.
Hey James, how are you?
I'm doing good. Hey, the ADR and ATR, right? The ADR usually when you're trading, you don't want to place a trade in once the ADR has reached exhausted. You know what I'm saying? If say the ADR for that day or for that pair that you're trading is 100 pips, right? So that's the range for the day. If it's gotten close to that range, you wouldn't want to place a trade because that range has been exhausted already. If that makes sense. The ATR includes the gap. So that's the only difference in between the two. They pretty much are like based like almost the same, exactly the same, but the ATR includes the gap as well, and the ADR doesn't. That's the only thing.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So some people do. They use the average trading range, like to say, "Hey, it's went this many pips today, so it might not go anymore." But as we know, that information you take with a grain of salt because, price can still do what price does. So that whole average daily range, it's calculated based off of how many pips it moves out of a certain direction or into a certain direction. But technically, it can move hundreds of pips within that. So like just because, let's say it went up by 50 and down by 50, that would make the average daily range 100 pips, right? But technically, it can move up and down in that trading range, over and over again throughout what we would call the trading day. So I don't really find that side of the information super useful, just so you know, because it can technically move within it a whole bunch. But different. But I hope that he answered your question better than I could. So.
I know you both did. Thank you.
All right, awesome. Okay, guys, anything else you want to add to management? Anything at all? Okay, so we've got our stop loss, we've got take profits, we've got never stack more than 4 trades on the same pair. How about how many trades can we be in at one time? Would that go in management or go in basic Forex?
Maybe
both.
That would go in management, wouldn't it?
I'd say it goes in management if you're asking me, yeah. So never be in more than 4 to 5 pairs at the same time, right? That's the most. Whether you're scalping or swinging, the only exception I have to that is like once that trade is running risk-free, so I've got like my take profit moved up, then I don't count that as one of my trades. So I will let that one be a runner because it's protected and it's safe. It's not going to affect my margin as much. It does affect it, but not as much. So that is my exception to that rule. Okay, let's go to entries, and this is the really fun part. So anybody who's worked with me, and if you guys were on like last night's call, at the end of the day, all we're looking is confirmations. So we're going to need lots of confirmations. So what are the indicators we have on our charts?
What resistance? Total trend line?
MACD.
X amount. Wow, okay, I can't spell or type. So we'll notice I made this to be, I'm going to make this some color. Oh, that's not going to work. We're going to make that bold. I'm going to make this bold because this is individual information, right? So we have, what indicators do we have on our charts that are evidence that we are in the right direction?
MACD.
Moving average.
So we have MACD, right?
Help line.
Let's try to do this in order. So we have big arrow, right? We have little arrow, right? We have yellow arrow. We even have the entry, whatever, sorry. Entry or seabird, right? So what else do we have up there? We have
Money string.
4 hour dots. I'm going to add all those. I'm trying to keep this in some order so we even know how to check this. 4 hour SNR dots. We also have daily SNR dots. Now we have money tree string. So I'm trying to think of the top of the chart so I don't miss anything, guys. Money tree string. We have our 50 moving average, right? 50 EMA. We have
the candles.
That's one of my favorites. So we have candles, right? We also have
AA lines.
trend line break. There you go. See, I don't even use that. I needed somebody to mention that. You can draw a trend line. Okay. Draw a trend line. AA lines. Wow. So don't laugh at my typing abilities. Is there anything else you guys can think of for the top of the chart? I mean, that's a lot of stuff.
Basically it. Or news. Big news.
A big arrow, little arrow, yellow arrow, entry, 4 hour support, daily support, money tree string, 50 EMA. We need candles. So like the big engulfing power kind of candle, right? We have a trend line break, so that's when you would draw it. We have a break of the 50. Anything else you can think of at the top of the charts?
Trump candles.
God bless you.
Thank you.
The Trump channels. Okay, so candle, we're going to say regular candles, confirmation, which is like a big engulfing, and then we're also going to say Trump or trend, because a lot of you guys do use those, candle color change, right? That can be counted as a piece of evidence, right? That's a good one. Okay, that's a lot for the top of the chart. Most of us don't have that much on there. But what do we have on the bottom?
ADX.
Okay, some of you guys use the profit filter. Wow, I have no idea what happened there.
Info plus.
TPI.
RSI.
TDI.
TDI, that's a good one, yeah. I'm learning TDI. I think
I
it's
love ETDI.
oversold.
Crazy.
You like it?
Oh man, I love the ETDI.
Good on you, because I don't know how much I can love it. Okay, so we've got MACD, ADX, I'm trying to stick with the system stuff for
Stochastics.
stochastic, right? Profit filter. We had that helpline.
RSI.
Helpline. RSI.
I mean, the TDI has the RSI in it, in a way.
It does, yeah. And I was looking that up, man. That's got a lot of information. I do like how it's trended, though. Okay, so MACD, ADX, profit filter, stochastic, helpline, RSI, TDI. Anything else you guys can think of? I'm going to put no news.
No news and
The money tree string.
We got that one on the top, currency strength.
Oh, okay.
This is just
level falls.
Yes, RSI, relative strength indicator.
What about the arrow dashboard?
That's great, but that's just a thing that we can put on our charts. How do I do? I'm not usually on this very often. Who can tell me how to format this and take away those margins? Anybody ever use this?
If I could remember.
I know, right? Oh, well. Okay. Well, now we're on 2 pages, so I better make this bigger. There we go. So now we're all the way up to 2 pages. I wonder how I do that. I don't know. Okay, so that's a whole bunch of pieces of evidence, right? So we've got a ton, and I'll fix this before I share it with the group. Somehow I might have to put it on my Apple, because I do everything like this on my Apple. It's the only way I know how. I like that way better than way better than like Excel and stuff. So for the swing, that's a lot of entries we have, right? It's a lot of pieces of evidence. I don't like how it's separated so you guys can't see it all at one time. But think about how many confirmations we can have to say that this is a good trade. Not that we need this many, okay? But depending on what your chart looks like, we've got big arrow, little arrow, yellow, entry, Seabird, if you use that. That should be set at 21. 4 hours dot, daily dot, money tree string, right? You want this to be closed, again, if you're asking me. Not everybody does it that way, but. Okay, well, I hear your children. How old are they?
3, 4, 5, and 7.
Oh my word, you've got your hands full. Wow. That's crazy. That's a lot. That's a lot. Well, then they're very well behaved because I cannot hear that much noise, just a baby amount. So, okay, so let's see. We've got money tree string line, 50 EMA, break.
Initially, we were talking about how to know that you're going in the right direction, right?
This is our confirmations. So this is, I want to make sure this is written out for you guys. What you look for when you enter, okay? So you want X amount of confirmations to enter the trade. So like, for instance, if you have 12 pieces approved, you want 10 out of 12. Or maybe you want 11 out of 12, or maybe you've gotten a little bit more sure, you have a better understanding of the markets, so you want, 9 out of 12. Maybe, I just forgot what I was going to say. Like, or maybe there's one of them that really matters to you. So maybe you don't need the big arrow as much because you'll enter on the Stairmaster kind of thing. So you'll only need like 7 out of 12 because you're entering on a Stairmaster trade, right? Which would be a re-entry, which I probably should have on here. Re-entry. That's not a word.
There's something else that I use that I could share in case anybody wanted to look at it.
What is it?
The moving average crossover arrow in alert.
Well, yeah. What number do you use it? What is it set up?
I have it set up every time. I use 2 moving averages, and I set my moving averages at 6 and 21, which are some numbers I borrowed from Nikola Tesla.
Okay.
And they seem to work very well. And then I set my RSI at 2 RSIs, and I set them at 6 and 21 as well. And then every time the moving averages cross over, I get it, because that's a change of direction. I get an alert, and it tells me which pair, depending on which pairs I have open, it tells me which currency pair is having the crossover and what time frame is having the crossover on.
Okay, gotcha. That's awesome. Well, yeah, there's a lot of those. So that yellow arrow is technically a 5 and 13 alert. So if you guys have other things that you use, you can definitely add it to this. But this one, I want to kind of keep it to the group. So I know what the 6 and 21 is. And technically we can use like a 5 and a 50 or a 4 and a 50. We can use about 50 billion numbers. We can use the 8 and 18. But all of that is still just going to be one more piece of evidence. So this right here, this yellow arrow, technically is the 5 and 13 cross.
Okay.
That's what that is. And your 6 and 21 would be pretty comparable, just slightly slower than that, just so you know what the difference is. But if you like that, and again, your eyes see that, trust me, that's fantastic for you. And all of this comes down to how we see the markets individually. So even the best person in the world, the best trader in the world, might not be able to teach you how they see it. So at the end of the day, it's taking all this evidence and saying, okay, which ones do I see best?
Right.
And how can I apply that to become the best trader for me? So that's still really good. Let me check the chat. Let's see.
Do you remember the indicator that Irving was working on?
That's a dashboard.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it's a dashboard, I'm pretty sure. And that's just based off of, but the problem is he paid to have it, or I don't know if he paid, but he was having it made. But the problem is he was using that whole overbought, oversold mentality, which is so accurate. So I think that he was, I don't know, I haven't asked him about it. So
Okay.
everybody wants an alert system, but the truth is, like, the best traders, most of them don't use a lot of alert systems. They have trade times, they look for setups, and then that's it. Because you will become a slave to your phone every time that phone goes off with another setup.
Lord, I hate that alert. I don't like that alert.
I know, you will become, so I've got a ton of alerts. I can teach you how to make free alerts on TradingView, call levels. There's several apps that will give you free alerts for different things, for parabolic SARs, for crossovers, for about 100 different things. But the truth is, most of them, like, all it's going to do is make you look at your phone 1,000 more times. That's it.
Yep.
Because you're not in front of your charts. Hopefully you're on a date. Hopefully you're in the mountains or at the beach, or you're doing something. Maybe you're working on your yard. You become a slave to trading if that's really what you're going for, is another alert. Just so, in my opinion. Like, I don't think everyone's desperate for that alert, but I don't think it's as useful as
You're
people.
probably right, because I think I'm already a tradeaholic.
That's what I'm saying, guys. If you just take like a couple of hours and say, okay, I'm going to flip to the chart. I'm going to have my swing trading account and my scalping account, or whatever your setup is. Maybe you have a swing account and like a Stairmaster account. I'm going to look for my setups according to this. When I find one or two, great. If I don't, I'm walking away. But any amount of alerts, your phone's going to be going off at midnight and at 2 a.m. and at 4 a.m. and when you're trying to take a shower and you're trying to brush your teeth, when you're trying to make out, like, every important moment of your life, you're going to get a ding dong on your phone. Like, seriously, that's what's going to happen. That's it. And then you'll never know which ones to trust. Then you'll hate yourself. You'll kick yourself for missing the good one. Of course, the one you're going to take is the one that didn't work. That's just kind of the axiom of it. So just pick your schedule, flip through the chart, see what's setting up. Not every time something's going to set up, but that's okay. And go live a life. I promise you, it's way better. Way better. So let's see. Oh, hey, Katie or Kate, the ADX is a free indicator. It's a public indicator. So that is it's in everybody's MT4. Nobody doesn't have it. It's under oscillators, and then the settings you can find in the group, or you can message me.
Okay, cool.
Where did the MACD true?
That is in the group. I got that from a different group, a private group. I love it. Oh, you want to know where to get it? It's in our group.
Okay, I need to try and get it.
Okay, so these are, sorry, the formatting's all funky. I would love to change it for you, but I'm just not gonna, I guess.
You're good.
I'll copy and paste it to another thing. But as you guys can see, like, there's a lot of different currency strength meters that you can use. I can recommend a few. Some are free, some are not. But this can be a piece of evidence as well. So when you're looking for a trade and you're deciding to take it, depending on how your chart is set up, we have 1, 2, 5, 9, let's see, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So that's 21 pieces of evidence. Depending on how your chart is set up, obviously you're going to have less, hopefully, because that would blow my mind, personally. But 21 that you guys can choose from to say, okay, these are the ones I like and my eyes see them best. I understand them best. So I'm going to pick, 10 out of these. And I want X amount out of X amount of confirmations. Okay? That is your job. And then when you make that rule, you don't break it. Ever. Okay? You also have the option of having like what I would call a key confirmation. Okay? Which would be like, for you, maybe you really understand currency strength. So maybe you really understand what the currency pairs are doing as an individual. So for that, what would happen is, like, if you understand that the GBP is getting really strong or really weak, like that can be your key confirmation to get in. Or maybe, like me, you really like that 50 moving average and the money tree string line and the daily dots. I can trade just off of ADX, money tree string, daily dots, and the 50 moving average. I can just use those 4. Like, those are my 4 key confirmations. So pick a few key ones that your eyes see best and make those ones non-negotiable. Okay, so those are our basic rules for swing trading. Are there any questions or anything you guys want? Hey, Pips, you can talk. You don't have to raise your hand. Pips, you raised your hand. Peekaboo. Let's see if I can find you in the group and unmute you. It won't let me unmute you. Can you type whatever it is you're asking in the chat? Because I see your hand raised, but it won't let me unmute you. So maybe you don't have a microphone or something. Okay, with the chat, let's see. Okay, cool. All right, well, those are our kind of our basic fundamental, just foundation rules for our swing trade. Now we're going to go to our scalp, or we can actually go to reentry. We're going to skip the scalp on this one. We're going to keep it super simple. So how many of those confirmations do you need to have in order to enter it, to re-enter? Like, for instance, the Stairmaster.
3.
Oopsie. Who said 3?
Will.
Hey, Will. Okay, so which 3?
In the MACD, the 3 arrows, and the dot.
Well, you're probably not going to have the 3 arrows right there. But I would say you definitely.
But at least 2 arrows be okay.
Okay, so SNR, 4 hour.
Yeah.
I'm going to say I want my money tree string line, right?
Yeah.
Okay, what else? Is there anything else you guys think is super important? I would say it retested the 50 EMA, or like kind of came back up toward it, you know?
How about a 20? I like the 20 and the 50, but like you said, everybody has their own.
Well, for you, then yeah, that should be part of your rules. So I can't make or break them. I can just say that this is a foundation, edit to you. So this is the foundation that everybody kind of needs. And now you can kind of add to and take away things that are irrelevant. But make sure you keep the foundation, okay? So keep this foundation and keep most of this foundation, okay? That's really all I'd say. So to re-enter, you can use whatever ones you want, because yeah, it does retest that, but that would be bare minimum for me. That would be bare minimum. So,
what time frame do you recommend? Sorry for cutting you up, but I'm getting a problem with time frame. Really getting. I'm like, oh my Lord. I like the 15, and then sometimes I see myself go for the 4 hours.
I don't trade this system on the 15-minute chart. I work on the 1 hour and 4 hour. That's it. I don't really care for the way that this bounces off of things on the 15-minute. And because by the time you have all the confirmations on the 15-minute, it's usually ready to turn around.
Yeah, you're
right. Not always, but, and again, Pat has a ton of success with that. So like, more power to him. He is definitely the go-to guy. He is brilliant and a rock star, but I cannot answer those questions because I don't trade the system on the 15-minute chart ever. I only use the system on the 4 hour and the 1 hour. It's like, if it lines up on the 4 hour, 1 hour, sometimes the daily is nice, but I don't necessarily need it. I look for my confirmations on the 1 hour. So that's probably a really good rule, is to pick your time frame. Right?
So you want to do it about it?
You need X amount. If you're asking me, okay, 1 hour chart. But you guys can decide, like, depending on your schedule and your life and your wants and your wishes, it doesn't have to be that. Maybe you really like the 30-minute chart. I don't know. But for me, I do this on the 1 hour chart. And then the same thing with re-entry. I do that on the 1 hour chart. Capiche?
Capiche.
Sorry, that's like, yeah, I said that the other night and no one understood what it meant.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, see? Oh, that's my family all the way. Okay, so are there any other questions or rules that you guys think that we can add to make this a more sound or a better trading plan? Anything at all you can think of?
Hey, it's me, DJ again, Jenny.
Hey, DJ.
Hey, so as far as the re-entry rules, I noticed when I was just going back doing some back testing that when a re-entry is valid, if the helpline is in line with that, then it's actually more of a chance for it to go in the same direction still, if that makes any sense.
Okay, so perfect. Then for you, I want you to put your helpline here. Okay. Not everybody has the helpline on their chart. But that is really good. I like the money tree string line personally. But for you, like I said, there's nothing wrong. Like, so the guy who likes the 20 moving average, it's really good. For the guy who likes the 6 and 21, again, more power to you. So if that helpline helps you, it is your best friend, and you should give it a name. Okay, like, you should, it's awesome. Like, that's perfect. So whatever you guys think that you need here. For me, I like the ADX here. Again, well, the ADX and the MACD. Personally,
that's my two favorite. That's my two favorite right there. ADM, MACD.
Yes, because like, I like the way that it's very clear. Like, so the MACD will tell me if it's above or below the 0 line, and that tells me enough. The ADX tells me enough about momentum in a way that my eyes can see it. And then of course I've got that clean crossover. It even shows me consolidation. So personally, these are the 4 that I say are mandatory for my re-entry rules. So anything else is a plus, but these are mandatory.
The ADA just you can't just go wrong with the ADA. The ADA is crazy.
And it is crazy how accurate that one is, huh? You have it set at 10, right?
Yep.
I love
the ADX.
I'm so glad you guys like it. I woke up to like so many messages this morning about, hey, one person grew their account by over 30%, like, and they started this on Thursday. One person, like, they made like $300, but in live money, so that's a big deal. Like, one person only grew up so many pips, but it was like the first 100 pips that they had got in their live account. Like, one guy is on the call. He's on day 4 of the trade plan. Like, I got so many. I know everybody was in the group saying that he was getting it. There was just quite a few. There was another lady in the group saying that she was getting it. There's so many. I think she got like 43 pips. there were so many of, hey, holy cow, once I understood it, like I understood it. Like, so aha moments are happening, and that's exciting. It's really exciting. So, but yeah, these are my 4 for reentry. I'm going to skip, because I want to make this video kind of a reasonable length. I'm going to skip the whole flip-flop rules, and we can do kind of the rules on a scalping strategy another night. But it's the same concept. We want X amount of confirmations depending on what we're using, and we want them to be managed well, period, and we want to follow the basic Forex rules. That's really all we're trying to do, guys. There's nothing complicated at all. So in terms of this, is there anything you guys want to add, subtract, have questions about, anything at all?
I have a question, Jenny.
Sleep.
Hey, how's it going? Who's I have a question?
Junior.
Hey, Junior, how are you?
I'm good. Just have a question about the ADR. Is there a video that you made prior explaining how to use it?
The ADR, so the average daily range?
Yes.
Yes, actually I made a video. It's on my YouTube. It's also in the group. It's also in the Google Drive. Pretty sure. It just kind of gives you a basic amount of information, nothing too fancy. So,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. Thank you.
You are welcome.
Set alarm for 6 a.m.
Hey, Will, you had a question?
Yeah, I'm saying. Go ahead.
Go ahead. It was you, Will. Go ahead.
I'm saying, like, I know most people don't use the TDI. You were saying something about the TDI, but you didn't finish the conversation. I thought you need more about the TDI.
Okay, so you guys can totally add the TDI to this. I don't know enough about it to teach. I mean, I watched a video. A friend of mine sent it to me, and I have a video to learn about it if you guys are interested. It's not by me. Yes, hey, that Steve Harvey video is one of my favorites. Sorry, I was reading the chat, guys. But that TDI, I don't really use it. I think it's better for overbought, oversold, at least from what I can see. It's not telling you, it gets too scrunched up at the trend. So like we'll figure out the trend. And again, I'm weak at it, so I'm probably not the best person to ask, and I will admit that openly. But from what I can see, what my eyes see, is it's really great at the reversal point. That's great. Like probably great on like a huge time frame. But on anything other than the 4 hour, all it's going to tell you is like scrunch, scrunch, scrunch. And that's what I see. So I'd have to make it really big to say, okay, which one of these lines are facing which way. But it is good. It is accurate. I can send you a video. If you shoot me a message on Telegram, I will send it over to you. Okay? Otherwise, I'd say stick with one of the ones that we know work really well with the system. I think that's a really good idea.
Okay.
Okay. I hope that helps answer your question.
Sure, that's good.
Yes, sir. Okay, any other comments, questions, ideas while I try to figure out how to take this away? No one wants margins. Who does that anymore? Anything else you guys want to add? Questions on something you think that you'd want me to be able to answer, or no? Yes?
Hello, Jenny.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how you doing? It's Quan. The only question that I have is we have wrote down these set of rules for swing entries and also re-entries. And from what I understand, you want us to look at the hour time frames only. And,
wait, go ahead.
And my question would be, what would we do from the 4 hour chart? How would we look at these entry points from the 4 hour, or if it's just another set of rules when it comes to the 4 hour?
Okay, so this is, wait. Yeah, you brought up a good point that I'm sure a lot of people are going to ask. So
okay,
maybe somebody can give me a better advice. So when I look for this trade, okay, another piece of confirmation, this definitely counts, is you want confluence, right? Wow. Whatever. Confluence on 1 hour and 4 hour minimum, okay? That's how I find my trade. So personally, you can take, you can say that you take the trades off the 15-minute, the 30-minute, and it has to be in the same direction as the 1 hour. You can say whatever it is you want to say. But I enter in my trades on the 1 hour time frame. So that means because I'm entering it on the 1 hour, I want my 4 hour to be in the same direction, and I want to have enough of my confirmations. I have 15 confirmations. So I want enough of my confirmations to line up. That's what I want. But this has to be your rules, guys. So if you're trading off the daily time frame and you're entering it on the 4 hour, that's up to you. If you're trading off the 15-minute time frame, the 30-minute time frame, and you're entering off the 15-minute, again, that's up to you. I can just tell you what I do is I shift through the charts on the 4 hour. I look for all my confirmations to be set up on the 1 hour. That's what I do.
Okay, thank you.
I don't do 15-minute confirmations, no. I don't go to the 15-minute chart at all with this system, ever.
Can you put on a confirmation one more time? You said the MACD, the ADX, and what else again? What you have on your confirmation? I just want to look at it real quick.
Oh yeah, no, I'm giving this to you guys. I just want to figure out how to format it. So this is for you guys. This isn't for me. I've got my own. So the reentry, that's what you asked about, right?
Yeah.
These are the 4 that I think are most important for what my eyes can see. So for somebody else who they use TDI really well, or maybe they use RSI, or like the gentleman said about the helpline, you guys can add the tools you use or the other indicators that you like to this. You guys are totally welcome to do that. These are just my favorite 4. When you guys make rules, that probably should have been a rule. Who wants to help me create that rule? Pick a time frame to trade from and enter in on the time frame below it. Is that a clear enough rule that you think people will understand?
I think when you say enter below it, that's a little bit, I think you just write exactly like an example. Some people might say, what do you mean enter below it? Yeah, I know. I heard a question like that before.
Okay, just get it. No, I don't do 15 indicators. I have 15 rules. Well, because you got to think that I have an option of my trend line. Well, hold on. I'll answer your question in just a second. Let's see. Okay, so pick a time frame to trade from. How do I say this in a way that people will understand it? Okay, if they don't understand me, but help them understand me.
Maybe you could say the next time frame down or a lower time frame.
Yeah, there you go. The next time frame down.
Next time frame down.
The next time frame below that time frame you're trying to analyze.
Okay. Pick a time frame to trade from and enter in on the time frame down below, like Australia. Sorry. Below it, for confirmation, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. Is that clear enough, you guys think?
Yeah.
Pick a time frame to trade from and enter in on the time frame down below, for confirmation.
One time frame down below. One time frame below.
Enter in one time frame down below it for confirmations, or with confirmation. Good. That should definitely be one of the basic rules.
Perfect.
So I can't decide that because some people do really well on the daily. This girl right here does not have that much patience. No, I can't do it. But I like the 4 hour and the 1 hour. Some people are really good with the 15-minute chart with the system. I am not. So, oh, and the gentleman who was asking about, I have 15 indicators. No, you guys have seen my chart. My chart has big arrow, little arrow, yellow arrow, the dots, money tree string, and the 50. I use that regular engulfing thing because that's not an indicator. That's just evidence, right? And I also use a break of a trend line. I don't use the AA lines. I use MACD and ADX. Let's see. I do use the no news counts for me. and currency filter, currency meter counts for me. So, yeah, it's all just different in how you see the market. Yes, sir.
Somebody's eating.
I'm sorry? I can highlight some of the ones I use, yeah, I can. And I will highlight them when I send this out. I'm going to put it on a numbers drive and then send it out to the group. Hey, SM, somebody has background noise. So if you're not talking, mute your line. You're welcome. Just get it. You're welcome.
Hey, Jenny.
Hey.
Hey, I sent you, I know you say you're trying to learn TDI and you have a video of it. And if you want to share that with the group, I just sent it to you on Telegram.
Okay, awesome. Oh, top 10 5 GDX. Okay, cool.
So, you know, you look at it and if you want to share it with people, you can share it. So.
Oh, I think, was that you? Let's see. Oh, yeah, I will definitely take a look at it. And if you guys want to learn the TDI, TDI is supposedly one of the most accurate indicators, like MACD is one of the most accurate. ADX is one of the most accurate. You guys are more than welcome to add an oscillator, but just don't add so much that you mess your head up. And that's about it. So I do want to keep this video to a reasonable length and kind of just keep it super simple. So if there's any other questions, comments, or concerns in terms of the rules, speak now or forever hold your peace till next week. Anybody at all?
Jenny, is there any indicators that basically show like the news on your charts?
The gentleman who just spoke up, he sent me one, and there's a few in the group. Ask the group that, because again, the one I have is from some company I paid for the whole lifetime membership for before they got really big. Now it's super expensive to join with them, so I wouldn't recommend it anyways. But either way, it's a pretty good indicator. It's not like the best indicator. It actually misses some, so it doesn't catch on to it. Anything that it does, it lags a lot. So I would ask in the group, and I'm sure somebody will have one.
Okay, thank you.
If not, just get in the habit of, like, part of your schedule will be you're going to check the news before you go looking at trading. If that's what you would do every morning or every night or whenever you go in front of your charts.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
Hey, Jenny, can I ask, would you recommend any particular books that we could go through? Just because you did recommend something which I found quite useful. So just if you would recommend anything, have you read anything that you think could help us?
I read a lot of like self-help books. I haven't read a lot of trading books, to be honest. Like, are you talking trading specifically, like trading in the zone?
Typically, yeah, I think the psychology of trading, I think that's something that a lot of us are struggling a little bit with sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, but hey, Edward, how old are you again?
I'm 18.
18. So I'm going to use him as an example just to, and I'm not calling anybody out. I am an absolutely imperfect person. But here's what I'm going to say. At this point, I've worked with a couple of dudes in college, a couple of guys who are like 17 and 18. Here's the thing, Sylvan. Like, I think most of us, you're right. We just get stuck in our head. We're all over the place. We have too much we're looking at. We have too many fancy tools. And I don't know if a book is going to change that any more than a counseling session would. I went to school for psychology, believe it or not. Like, that's what my major was in. I just think that at the end of the day, some of us are able to pick the rules, decide how we see it, and then stick with that, which means you have to take emotions off the table. And if you think a book is going to help you get there, great. If not, like, I don't know if a book is going to help you. I think it just gives you more things to think about.
Okay.
Like, if it was me and you were asking me, I would tell you to read like some books that kick you in the butt. Like books like I had to open my Audible. I like the book Relentless. I love I don't like Grant Cardone's voice at all. I don't know why, I just don't like his voice. But his principles are sound, and he is very, very good in terms of like his mentality. There's a lot of mentality books, I think, that would help more so than trying to study a whole other list of psychological principles that make this good or bad, and what to think and what to feel and how to think it and how to feel it. I don't know if that would help you, but you know you better than I know you. So
Yeah, I mean, I think you get to know yourself more when you start trading with real money, because like you said before, I mean, strategy is good, but a strategy is, you know, I see that a lot of it is psychological, and I see a lot of people, I mean, even the people that I know panic and go into like a downturn spiral when they actually start going a bit on a losing streak. So I think a lot of us that have been trading demos and with small amount of money haven't felt it yet. But once you do, I think it's something that I thought that might be a thing that would probably help some of us going through that.
Oh, you're definitely right. So like here, I'm big on God. He gets the glory for every single thing I've accomplished and every good and even in my life. But God isn't going to give you more than you can handle. So let's be honest, if you get all stressed out like today about the loss you have today, and it's like in a demo account, or let's say it's $500 or it's $5,000, you're not ready to make $5,000, okay? Like that's how I see it. But I'm not to say like I'm more strong. I think at the time that I really started trading, I went really hard into it. I have a bad habit of doing that. Like when I have emotional stress in my life, I put all my energy into business. So when I first got into trading like 3-4 years ago, and I first started learning about it, that's when I was going through like my separation, right? So I put all that energy into trading. So psychologically, like I handled it the exact opposite way. Like the worst thing that could happen in this computer screen was still better than what I was facing in my reality. Does that make sense? Like, so even on really bad days, like, and not to say I didn't have bad days in trading or bad days in life, like I told you guys, even when I lost all that money in Bitcoin, I lost all that money in my NZD trades. Like I didn't handle it super well. Like I still slept like a baby. I was super bad. I should have said, I'm sorry, that was a mistake. I didn't handle it bad. Like if you want God to bless you with more, if you want to show yourself, your wife, your family, your people, your God, that you're capable of making $100,000 in a week, you have to have personal growth enough to handle $100,000 in a week.
Girl, you're so right.
Your money will never grow as much until you do. Your money can only grow as much as you do as a person.
Yep.
So when I tell you, like, I would say, you guys don't need more trading strategies. You guys don't need more trading rules. You don't need more cool indicators. Like, again, I can show you my charts. I can show you about 50,000 of them. Some of them look real cool. But the truth is, at the end of the day, until you follow some basic rules and you grow as a person, your money is not going to grow at all. It's just going to keep you stagnant.
Hey, Jen, I got a quick question.
Hey, Mike, too. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. You kind of made reference to your YouTube channel. You have your own YouTube channel that we can go and look at certain videos?
I don't have a lot on there. I just have a few. Most of all my YouTube channels are private or unlisted. The most of them are all posted in this group. So
okay.
A whole bunch.
Training.
Make it up.
Yeah, so once you like click on it, like you can subscribe. So as I start making videos, you'll get any notifications and stuff. And I'll start making some just basic trader level videos because I don't think there's enough of those.
Okay.
Maybe may as well. It kind of gives me something to do too, because working from home is hard sometimes. So.
Well, you can always call me. We can do a personal training if you're bored.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Talk more charts, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh yeah. See, I love.
What is your channel's name? Oh my bad. Sorry.
I think it's just my name. It's just my name. So if you go into that Google Drive in the group, and then you click on my trainings, it'll pull up one of my YouTubes, and then just subscribe to it. So there's not a whole bunch.
We'll do.
Maybe I'll add more. Maybe I'll build a YouTube channel. Who knows? I may as well. It's something to do. It's fun.
Hey, Jen, I have a question. It's kind of off topic of trading, but it's what do you do when you get bored? Because all I do is stay home, basically.
So you're young. First off, dude. Good life. Okay.
Yeah.
I have a reason. You do not have a reason. I'm sure you're adorable. I'm sure you're 18. Like there are plenty of pretty girls out there. Like go have some fun. Don't be a bad person. But like, so I go to the gym. Granted, I've got children, so my schedule is a little bit different. I kind of am at the mercy of them most of the time because they're very active They play sports. They're, high achieving academically. So I'm usually at their mercy, but the gym is a good thing to do, and find some close friends that are like decent people who you can go bowling with, or go bumper cars, or go hiking. Like, where do you live again?
Well, I mean, I live in Corpus. I live by the water.
Oh, see, then you're not very nice because I have no water next to me. I don't know what you're doing in the house, okay, right now when you have water next to you. Like, or go volunteer, go give back. So I remember talking to you. You have a very unique situation.
Yeah.
Right? So use that blessing that you have. Pick a day of the week where you go volunteer. Like, go find an organization that you believe in and just volunteer for a few hours. You're going to meet the coolest people. It's going to be awesome. But find some things for you to do.
Yeah, because I used to be into fighting a lot, but I mean, I would always get hurt in there. So.
Yeah, don't do that. You're going to mess up your face. What's wrong with you? Who wants to fight for real? Like,
I love fighting though. Sorry.
But, I mean, I was a sport. It wasn't like street fighting, none of that.
You just like in a ring, you fight just for the sake of getting punched in the face, or what?
Well, no, I mean, it's pretty fun.
Just the exciting of it. It's fun. I love doing that too.
I don't know what's wrong with you guys. You guys are both broken. If you're asking me.
You like getting?
No, you talking about MMA fighting?
Yeah, MMA, yeah.
Whatever fighting.
Then that's exactly what you need to do. You train young ones to learn how to handle themselves. You know.
Oh my God.
There you go. Go volunteer like in a boys' club, and you can like have a little boxing club, a nonprofit kind of, And at first, it's going to feel like you're doing nothing. You're going to fail miserably, and just plan on that. Okay, kids aren't going to show up. They're going to think you're cool and then think you're dumb. But then like just create a group of kids who are not on drugs or not dipping out of school, and like create a little fight rink. Of course, you have to have their parents sign a disclaimer. Like, you can do so much with that time. And if you like fighting, I don't want to see people get punched in the face. Like, I have way too much of a soft heart for that. I would cry. I would totally cry. I'd be like,
But Jen, honestly, that builds like self-esteem and character in a person, and it focuses rage towards something different. I mean, it's a really good building block for like young teens that don't know their way. It builds character.
Like, I grew up. Okay, so a lot of people don't know like most of my story. I grew up with 6 brothers and sisters, including myself. 4 of them are boys. So I know that like boys have that certain kind of energy that they need to get out. It doesn't make them violent. It doesn't make them bad, but they just have that energy. Like, God gave them all that energy and that power. And we live in a world where we sit on our computers, we sit to drive, we don't do a lot of manual labor. We have all that, like, you men have testosterone, us girls have our own chemicals in our body. We have to get it out somehow. We have all this passion and feeling in it, and all these amazing parts of us that make us human, and we're not living it. We're not like living this life of passion, So I get it. I'm sure it is good for you boys, but it's just not my thing. Like, I don't want to see someone get punched in the face.
It's not that bad. It's not as bad as you think.
Mercy.
Why do you think?
As long as you're not on the receiving end, then it's okay.
The whole idea is to duck.
Just duck, okay. Like I said, I grew up with brothers, so I can take a punch. But like, I don't want to see anybody else get hurt. Like, that's just not a fun feeling for me. No way. Nope. But listen, guys, go do some fun things and go give back. You want to see your money grow? Your money will grow 10 times more when you start growing as a person. Your money will grow 10 times faster when you start giving back. And if you don't have money, or maybe you don't like fighting like Edward does, like a weirdo.
It's not that bad. It's pretty fun, honestly.
I'm just picking on you.
No, it's fine.
Bake some cookies and give them to your neighbor. Like, go help your mom clean her living room or fix her car or something. Like, there's always somebody. I'm sure there's somebody who lives in your neighborhood that could use some help. And we don't live in a world where people do that often enough. So there's tons of things to do if you will find it, especially in your case. You have no other responsibilities.
Do you have a video on the ADX?
Do I have a what?
A video?
ADX is free.
Like a training on the ADX? I've no.
Yeah, so it's in most of like the last 2 or 3 recordings. I went over it several times.
No, this is my first time in this class, so I don't know.
Oh no problem. I'll make a really short video about the ADX. I have a graduation.
I thought you had one in the training video already.
I have a one about the ADR in the training video. But
okay.
Make a really short one. This way it's easier to find, like tomorrow, or maybe Friday. and then I'll post it in the group and on
Where
my.
can I find that idiot? Where can I find it?
It's free.
The ADX is a free oscillator. It's in every MT4 on your phone and on your computer. And the settings, you can message me, but they're also in the group. All it is 10, and then we have level 20, 25, and 40. So write that down.
Yeah, you could watch the video Dr. Spiller put out when he went over the ADX.
Yeah, I'm sure Dr. Spiller's got one too, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't doubt it.
20, 25, and 40.
Another IML guy.
Yes, sir. So
I've watched some of his videos.
the 10 is what you set it at. The ADX is set at 10, and then the levels you add are 20, 25, and 40. As you just heard from other gentlemen in the group, that is from a multiple 8-figure trader. He's a beast. Those settings are his, and that's the ones I kind of love and I stick with. Works real well for me, I'm telling you. It's a beautiful thing.
You said 10, 20, 25, and 40?
No, sir. So the setting is set at 10. That's the
20,
setting.
25, 40, right?
Yes, and then the levels, which is a different thing, the levels you'll be adding are 20, 25, and 40.
It's really good to get into good entries, in my opinion.
All right, thank you.
Are you waiting for the cross on the 1 hour?
Yeah, I do. I wait for the cross, and then for whatever I'm going to get on top of the opposing one, basically.
Yep, perfect.
Yeah.
There's just not a lot of noise on the 1 hour. It's so smooth.
Oh, yeah. I like the ADX. It's probably my favorite one.
It is one of my favorite ones, for sure.
Hey, Jenny.
Hey, Dorian.
How you doing?
Okay, good. So wait a minute. DG said whoever asked about the news indicator, Tom uploaded a zip file to the SuperEZ Grader chat, and it's got a news calculator in there, so I hope that helps. And everyone's calling the Spike Club, or Randy's calling the Spike Club. What the heck? Dude.
I have a question about the last bullet list on the basic FX that you just added, where it says pick a time to trade from, and enter in one time frame down below it with confirmations. So if I'm looking at a daily chart, does that mean that I would enter on a 4 hour?
Yes, you can enter on the 4 hour. Well, here's the problem. So like what I told somebody else in a private meeting today was this. Everybody wants it to where like that big arrow dashboard says buy, 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 right?
Yes.
But the truth is the only time that happens when everything says buy, 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 or sell, 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 is when the market is pushing so very hard that every single time frame is trying to reset. And that is not a good time to get in, because that's a time when everything is obviously pushing very hard. So like that's the first thing I would tell you. And the second thing I would tell you is if you're getting in on the daily, if you're looking for trades on the daily, you want to enter in on the time frame, the next smallest time frame. So that's the 4 hour. Keep in mind, like you might be waiting for like 2 or 3 days for that to set up accurately. And that's going to be very typical. If you're entering in on the 4 hour, if you're picking your trades on the 4 hour and entering in on the 1 hour, you might have to wait a day or two. That's it.
Okay.
Okay, I hope that helps.
And one more thing, if you have the time, you had mentioned that 6,000 pip trade. Can you go over that?
I'm actually going to hop off because I wanted to make this video a little short. We can go over it next week. So there was a gentleman, I think it was Robert in the group. Just so you guys know, I'm learning this. I don't know everything, believe it or not. So every broker counts pips differently. I've never traded a whole bunch of indices or exotics, but I am learning that some brokers will count the entire amount of pips, like based off of your lot size, obviously, so it's worth a different amount. But some brokers will make it to where it looks like 20 pips, but it's actually worth 2,000 on a different broker. So that was just the Euro-Mexican trade. We took a look at it last night, and I took a look at it, and I entered it on Monday. I re-entered last night. Both entries closed in profit, and now it gapped up today, actually. But my trades are closed in profit, so I'm good. But yeah, we can definitely take a look at it. The exotics move differently. They move very differently, and they're not necessarily as risky as indices. Granted, I'm pretty new to exotics, so I'm probably not the best person to ask. I'm a really good trader, but I've never really traded the exotics, so I'm just kind of dipping my toes in those a little bit, just so you know.
Okay, thank you.
Because it was like a perfect setup. It was beautiful. So
Danny, I have one more question.
Go ahead.
Oh, my bad. Like since I'm seeing swing trading like the 1 hour and 4 hour also, is it bad for me to get into trade like close to the end of the week, like Thursday or something? Is that bad?
This Thursday, definitely, because you have a ton of news on Friday.
Well, yeah, I know, but I'm just asking, like, for future reference.
No, but again, if you're following these rules, you're going to avoid most of the problems you're about to face. So yeah. I will also, I can tell you guys, this is mine. I don't trade U.S. pairs on NFP week.
Yeah, I have a lot of news this week.
Well, the reason why is because I've got burned so many times. The trade goes against me too often. So like I don't trade any U.S. pairs this week for the most part at all. Like I just don't. I avoid them only because they go the opposite direction. The U.S. dollar just spikes in every which direction. The whole week feels like to me, and maybe there's somebody who's much better than me. That's great, but the whole week to me feels like it's just a big mess. So I typically don't trade U.S. pairs on NFP week, the whole week. But that's just my rule. So most people don't follow that rule. But you can totally enter in a trade on Thursday. But again, if you're only going to be in 4 to 5 trades at a time, you're never been more than 4 pairs at a time, okay? And again, this is excluding.
I'll take more Monday, right? Or else not take mine.
Hold on, excluding pairs where stop is in profit. Whoopsie.
Oh, Joshua, go sleep.
There you go. So excluding pairs where your stop is in profit and is risk-free, or with a trailing stop. So if you already found enough pairs, why are you still looking for another pair on Thursday?
Yeah, I agree.
So this will kind of, if you follow this to the tooth, which is an Italian expression, to the tooth, to the mattresses, whatever, like that, you won't have most of the problems most people face, because typically speaking, you're going to have a few runners from this week or last week. You're going to have found a few trades. 1 or 2 might have hit take profits. 1 or 2 might have hit stop loss. But for the most part, you should still be in a good amount of trades. So maybe on Tuesday and Wednesday you found 1 or 2 more. But come Thursday, like you can enter a trade on Thursday. I wouldn't tell you to enter a trade on Friday afternoon if you're swinging it, because that's just silly.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Why pay the extra fees when you could get in on Monday, market time Monday?
Well, I'll probably just take most of my trades Monday, Tuesday, latest Wednesday.
There you go. Well, you don't have to make a steadfast rule like that. You can if you want to, because you can technically enter in your trade on Thursday and it'll still be great. Okay. So, but just don't take a trade on Friday afternoon.
All right, thanks, Jenny.
You are welcome. Okay, guys, I'm going to go ahead and cut this off. I was hoping to keep this an hour, but Lord knows I need to work on not talking so much maybe. But that's going to be kind of our foundation. I will put this in a different format and then send it to the group to where you guys can edit it how you wish. And if you learn to follow this, I promise you, you will be super successful.
Thank you, Jenny.
You are welcome. I hope you guys have a fantastic night, sweet dreams, and all that good stuff.
Thank you, Jenny.
Good night.
Welcome.
Good evening.
Nice to meet you.
Bye, Jenny.
Nice to meet you. Sweet dreams, guys.
Bye, guys.